Cardinals and the Seahawks. I am Ricky Hollywood, and I am sitting here in our respective homes, that virtual life. Mark Sessler and Adam Rank. What is up, guys?
Not much. Hey, you know what? I'm excited to be a part of the ATN brand. Like this has been a huge couple of weeks for me. So I appreciate that.
It's a nice coup for you, Adam, to be part of the group, but we're lucky to have you. And I think we've got a good matchup here. Maybe a little bit better than the one we were given a few days ago, that Bears-Saints matchup. This one's
Stop.
juicy.
Yeah, seriously. Weren't we just talking before the show that Khalil Mack was a 99? Where was that?
We were talking about that.
Where was that last game?
Stop it. You know who's not a 99, which I always find fascinating?
You?
Russell Wilson. Well, yes, me, of course. But like Russell Wilson, like how is he disrespected on Madden too? Like the guy has never gotten an MVP vote. I think you should make it up to him by making him a 99.
So he was like around a 97, I believe, last year.
Yeah,
gotta pump him up a few points.
Like, come on,
he didn't just stay baseline; he improved.
Yeah, he was incredible. And that's again, it's unfortunate he's never been in the MVP conversation, even though he plays like it every year. And I know that, Mark, they talked about trading him to your Cleveland Browns.
As much as I'd love to hear you talk about that, you guys, let's get into this game. We've got the Seahawks, we've got the Cardinals. Mark, who do you have in this game?
I've confidently got Seattle, although this division is, I think, as we predicted a little bit, kind of eating each other up. You don't have any number one seed scenarios here. They're both about 5-4, and but I like this. This is in Seattle. I think Seattle's going to take it.
Okay, Rank, how about you?
The Arizona Cardinals defeated the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle at the end of last season with Brett Hundley. It wasn't even Kyler Murray. So for that reason, I'm going with the Seahawks.
Okay, I'm going to be the contrarian here, and I am going with the Cardinals. They're both 5-4 so far this season. I feel like they might have the edge out. I want to see what Kyler Murray can do. I want to see what Hopkins can do. And I just, look at that tackle that was there. I mean, I see into the future. Was that Greg Olsen? Yeah, I think so.
Catching that ball. By the way, Greg Olsen, no matter what team he's playing for, I'll never forgive the Bears for trading him. And specifically, I won't forgive Mike Martz.
That did not work out well. But I mean, the Bears sort of make a cottage industry of buffoonery type moves that leave the fans questioning what's up.
Stop it.
Yikes.
They drafted Trubisky, so that's obviously not true.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, do you guys find that, do you find this interesting? Okay, so neither Arizona nor Seattle have any passer, rusher, or receiver ranked in the top 5 of total yardage up to this point in the simulation. Good, bad, expected?
I definitely do, because I would say maybe with you look at the way that Arizona likes to operate a 4 wide receiver set heavily. Look at that.
Sorry.
Oh,
no, it's a nice little play there. But I guess, how do you spread the ball around to all these guys? Fitzgerald came in with 653 yards. I think the surprise is that Hopkins has only 510 and just 4 touchdowns. They haven't had to rely on him the same way the Texans did when you wondered forever who their number 2 receiver even was.
Yeah, it's interesting because DeAndre Hopkins was one of 4 players who was a 99 in last year's game. And so you think of him, as you said, that prolific player in Houston. I do believe it still transfers, even though Larry Fitzgerald's there and Christian Kirk is developing as well. They're probably going to rely on him a lot. So I would expect his numbers to be a little bit higher than they are during this simulation. So I find it to be a little bit of a surprise, although he probably might not have the numbers that he had in Houston.
Interesting. Okay, so Seahawks so far this season, Russell Wilson, 2,168 passing yards, 7 TDs. Chris Carson, 388 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett, 613 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, who I was super interested to sort of see where, his follow-up season came out. And he's at 418 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, the Seahawks team is pretty stacked.
Definitely. I want to know what DK's rating is going to be coming into this season, too. I feel like he's going to take a step forward. Last year, he had, 900 receiving yards right on the nose. And I know a lot of people made a lot of his route tree in that it was just one branch. It was just one. It was just the base of the tree. But I thought that he showed enough last year that I think that this is going to be a huge leap for him in year 2.
They've also, Greg Olsen, he isn't having a monster year stat-wise, but he's been a big part of their offense. They use tight ends really well, and I think they just want to be a run team. So I'm a little surprised that Chris Carson has under 400 yards.
Definitely.
If they spread it out, though, I could see that in real life, where if Rashad Penny comes back from his injury, I know Marshawn Lynch could return at some point as well. I could see that being very frustrating, especially for people in the fantasy community who want to see one bell cow running back for a team that runs about just as much as anybody, but it's probably going to be spread out over a number of players.
I think we should have had a flag there. I saw Russell Wilson slide onto his stomach, and it may have been a graphical scenario, but a Cardinals player just stepped on his neck. Could have easily hopped over him there.
It seemed a little violent for sure.
Oh, yeah, that was tough. So where do you guys rank Carson amongst the best pass catching backs? It's a question from the thread right now.
He's got skills. I just don't think that they throw the ball enough. And I think that what you get with him, as opposed to some other pass catching backs, we saw last year where Aaron Jones was catching a lot of balls in the red zone, and he had a huge season with 19 touchdowns. When the Seahawks are in a position like this, either Russell runs it in like that, which is very nice. He's got that ability, or he's looking for his tight end. It could be either Greg Olsen or somebody who was really starting to come on at the end of last year, or at one point last year, who was Will Dissly. I guess he was in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I'd rank him certainly behind Kenyon Drake, who I think one of the reasons the Cardinals were happy to move on from David Johnson, salary aside, was the Kenyon Drake. That offense is it's wonderful the way that Kyler Murray gets the ball out to running backs in that system, and he's been so dangerous in that aspect.
Yeah. That was one of the craziest things last year, is when he was acquired from the Miami Dolphins. You were kind of puzzled, like, what are they thinking? Like, this isn't going to go very well. And then his first game with the Cardinals was against the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday night. And I remember everybody not wanting to start Kenyon Drake in fantasy, and Candace Patton, who ended up winning NFL Fantasy League 1, she was she was stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And I remember telling her, like, you might as well just start him, because the other guys that you have, like, you just got to roll the dice, just not expect much. And then he went out, I think it was somewhere around the neighborhood of 150 yards, a touchdown, and he was incredible in that game.
And I know Adam Gase wasn't with the Dolphins last year, but in general, Kenyon Drake seemed a little trapped in that Adam Gase offense for years. And it only amplified that, what I think to Jets fans has to be a very ponderous narrative, that whoever Adam Gase touches, their production seems to reduce by about 3/5.
Le'Veon Bell doesn't think so.
Oh my God, I know, right? We got another question. Who are you most interested to watch in this game? Like I said in the beginning, DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is such an exciting addition to this Cardinals team. And I'm super plugged in onto seeing how, he gels with Kyler and that Cliff Kingsbury offense. How about you, Mark?
Well, Kyler Murray was rated a 73 last year. And, we were talking before the broadcast, where would you put that right now? I'd have to put it up in the mid 80s, I'd say, or maybe 83, 84, because he is extremely dynamic. And, you mentioned that Seattle game last year, Kyler Murray in that offense knocked Cleveland around the week before, then went and beat Seattle, and then closed the season with a close loss to the Rams. And, their early part of the schedule this year was rugged. And they get into this part of the year now where I could really see Arizona, creeping back into the playoff picture there. And Kyler Murray's the reason. My
guy Clint, though, is a really tough Raider. So I'm expecting him to come in at around a 78 with some room to improve, just because we see that with a lot of, but I'm with you, Mark. I think he's an exceptional talent. I thought last year he really went and showed himself pretty well. I thought it was a pretty good rookie year for him. It's interesting, though, coming into the year 2, where he's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback from Oklahoma, entering his second year in an offense that won the offseason by acquiring one of the biggest names at the wide receiver position, which draws a terrible parallel to Baker Mayfield. But I do believe he's probably going to end up being more of the Lamar Jackson type, who has a breakout during his second season.
Yeah, he's already had a better second year than Baker Mayfield was at this stage in year 2 for him, for sure.
Definitely. Rank, I'll pose this question to you. Someone in the chat asks, who do you think the goofiest guy is on the Seahawks?
The goofiest?
Yeah.
Outside of the coach? I mean, look at Pete Carroll. Like, anytime I feel like Russell Wilson doesn't get enough credit for playing as well as he does, considering that Pete Carroll's chewing gum in his ear throughout the whole game. It's like, coach, can you just not work on that gum? Or remember last year when they were interviewing DK Metcalf before the draft and Carroll's there with his shirt off, flexing and doing whatever he's doing. And I know that it can come off as aloof, but I kind of like his attitude in just being that kind of persona. I did have an opportunity to cover Pete Carroll a little bit when he was coaching at USC, and I was with the OC Register. I know. I was with the OC Register, but he was the same way, and he's never changed ever since he's been into the NFL. So I mean goofiest in a good way, but I do got to say that it's Pete Carroll.
Okay, how about you, Mark?
Drop off after Michael Bennett left the team, and we had an incident with our Around the NFL podcast where Dan Hans is just trying to do the job of a reporter. Asked after the Patriots beat the Seahawks a question to Michael Bennett in the somewhat of a meltdown scenario post game locker room for the Seahawks, and Michael Bennett took quite a shot at Dan. I can't really even repeat what it was he said, but he is noted to be a prankster, but he's got a little bit of a bite if you get on his bad side.
Were there expletives involved with that?
No, but it was not the kind of insult that a gentleman would want to hear tossed his way. Let's put it that way. And I can fill you in later on the details.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a text on that one. But it's funny that Dan always seems to find himself in these scenarios where obviously Michael Bennett is making fun of him for whatever reason. He also was involved when Tom Brady had his jersey stolen, and if I'm not mistaken, Dan Hansis was not only the person who broke it, but some people actually implicated him, if I'm remembering this correctly.
I don't know about the implication. That feels that you may be remembering.
I think it was one of the stories. They were acting like Dan, or they were using Dan's quote like it was coming from
the owner. That.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly broke it. And, he gets into the thick of it with some of these athletes because he asks these penetrating questions that kind of rattle the hemisphere.
You guys, this is such a good question. We have to do it. Which former Heisman and top pick will have a better season in 2020, Baker or Kyler? I love this one. Sessler,
one too.
How about you?
Well, I mean, I have to say I think Baker can do that because I haven't just wiped away what he did as a rookie, first of all. It was a special rookie season, snapped a bunch of records, and really the physical traits that he showed and the accuracy, that all melted away last year. But I am willing to give that entire team a bit of a mulligan for what was happening under Freddie Kitchens. Kyler Murray could be close, but I think that Baker Mayfield's in year 3, and if it doesn't happen, there probably will be questions about where the Browns, what they think about quarterback next offseason.
If it wasn't for Star Wars Episode 9, the Browns would have been the biggest disaster of 2019. And I will say, though, that I am still on board with Baker Mayfield for the exact same reasons that Mark pointed out. And also, how much of an investment they put into this team on the offensive line. You go out there and you draft Jack Conklin, or you sign him as a free agent, you draft Jedrick Wills, and you get your 2 tackle spots locked in right there. You brought in Austin Hooper, which means they can run a lot more 2 tight end sets. This is all set up for Baker Mayfield this season. And I understand that a lot of people are going to be apprehensive to trust him. It's kind of like if you go to a restaurant and they get your order wrong or something like that. You're like, I don't know, I don't want to go full Karen, but I'm a little bit upset with what was happening here. So I understand you might shy away, but I'm all in on Baker once again this year.
You do have a little bit of a Karen vibe to you, but Eric and I are overlooking that.
Yeah,
a little bit. I've asked to speak to plenty of managers in my day. But I covered baseball, so that's what it was.
Definitely. So, okay, the Seahawks are up 7-0 with under 2 minutes left in the first half. My prediction is not looking good at the moment, but a lot can happen in the second half.
I mean, it's not looking terrible.
Right?
It's not 27-0, but defensive battle here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know about you guys, but 28-3 ring a bell?
Hold
doesn't matter.
Hold it. Why would you even? There's not even now.
I know it's not even related.
Fans, the Falcons get an unprovoked shot for no reason. There's some kid who's probably watching.
He's
sitting
crying,
there.
Yeah.
Right.
He's sitting there in a William Andrews jersey, sitting there watching this action, and then all of a sudden you take a shot at him. Although if he's wearing a William Andrews jersey, he's clearly not a kid.
Yeah, seriously. I wanted to tee you up, Mark, for this because talking about the Cardinals, we had an episode on around the NFL this week that really did a deep dive into the Arizona Cardinals, and a lot of comments are coming out in our Twitch stream right now saying that Isaiah Simmons could be elite, the draft prospect. So we had some beat writers on from the Cardinals, and I think that, Mark, you asked a question, I think, about where Isaiah Simmons would fit in, and we got some good answers.
It's one of the first questions asked, and it came from Wes because I think it's a very it's one of the bigger question marks surrounding Arizona. But Vance Joseph, their defensive coordinator, went on record recently and said, we want to keep him at linebacker. Not that he can't do a lot of different things out of that position, but not to, in a weird offseason, have him hit the ground running, playing 3 or 4 different positions. I think that could change as the season goes along. I'm not sure. Rank, I don't know what you think, but I'm not sure, based on what we know about Vance Joseph over the last couple of years, that he's exactly where you would target Isaiah Simmons to go and work with. But Vance Joseph, if you can get a little creative and trust Isaiah Simmons, I think it could be a pretty intriguing special player for an improving defense.
Yeah, they have a lot of interesting players who don't necessarily fit one specific role. And I think about somebody like Budda Baker and somebody who might not be a traditional safety in the sense and moves all over the field. And I think that once they get Isaiah Simmons out onto the field and can kind of see what he's able to do, but they're going to find a lot of different uses for him. I thought it was an interesting pick because, number one, I thought they could have gone with an offensive lineman because that's been one of their problems recently. But when you have a defensive talent like that, and coming into the draft, he was the number 2 defensive player for me off the board behind Chase Young, and I would have even drafted him. I was, looking as a Bears fan, I was kind of relieved that they drafted Jeff Okudah instead of taking Isaiah Simmons, but I think that his talent's going to eventually end up winning out, and that if a coach is unable to find multiple ways to use him, that coach might not be with the team much longer.
Yeah.
Definitely. I went over some Seahawks stats at the beginning and some Cardinals so far this seasoning. Yeah, they're like the nice little salt and pepper on the top of the season.
They're little Lowry's.
Yeah, exactly. A little. So Kyler Murray's got 2,087 passing yards, 18 touchdowns. That's not bad. Could the Cardinals win the AFC West?
No, because they play in the NFC.
True. I mean, Kenyon Drake, 549 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns already.
Well, and we mentioned he's dangerous, catching the ball out of the backfield too. I'd say why not if there's a drop-off with the Niners. I don't expect, to me, and maybe it's just because the Super Bowl, to all of us humans, feels like was 14,000 years ago, that the idea of sort of a Super Bowl hangover doesn't really exist. And just kind of getting a sense of being around Kyle Shanahan a little bit at the Combine and just hearing him in general speak about the offseason, they're not built that way. They're not just going to vanish like the 87 Giants, if you want me to take it back, 3+ decades or whatever. But to me, I think the Cardinals have a shot to with 7 playoff teams, to be in the mix. And they're one of these teams that are hype. They're pretty hype fest ridden at this point, but there's a reason for it.
Hype. Wow. Yeah. You really connected with a lot of our Twitch
I don't know what was
just
happening
then.
there.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Great
They're all jumping in the comments now to write hype, like hype beast. Hype beast is like yeah.
I said
hype train. Hey,
so it's
the hype. Yeah.
Hype. So,
the hype train is kind of trademarked for another show, but whatever, right. I will allow that to happen since I'm here. It's like if I'm sitting in with another band, like if Travis Barker is sitting in with another band, of course you're going to go out and allow them to play Josie or whatever. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, I don't remember what the point was. Can the Cardinals win the NFC West? I do believe that they could have that kind of trajectory. I think that they have a lot of nice pieces. There's a lot of things to look at you look at the roster and you're like, okay, there's a lot of things that we like here. We like Kenyon Drake. We like DeAndre Hopkins. We thought the draft pick, right there you go, right there. Isaiah Simmons, who we talked about a moment ago. The question really comes down to Cliff Kingsbury, and is he ready to take that leap? And is he going to get him, or is he going to get that team over the hump? Because when you're ranking the coaches in the NFC West, there's some really good ones. We talked about Pete Carroll. We talked about Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. Everybody's acting like he can't coach anymore after one 9-7 season.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of competition. I think that if they were perhaps in a different division, that they would have a better chance. And I don't anticipate the 49ers taking a step back. I don't anticipate the Seattle Seahawks taken a step back either. So I think it's going to be tough for them to make that leap. Talent-wise, I think they have it. Division-wise, I would probably lean towards no.
Imagine them in the AFC East, for instance. I mean, the answer would be a quick yes. I mean, they have, and you've seen it in this game. They're down 10-0, and they were ranked 29th in the league last year in red zone offense. They moved the ball well inside the 20s, but then they got there and they could not punch it in, and they need to change that. And you're sitting here down. If you knew that you'd be down, you'd only allow Seattle to score 10 points here. You'd think that Arizona would have a shot. What's going on with a shutout? This is outrageous.
I know. And you've seen Cliff Kingsbury's house from the draft. I mean, this guy has way too much confidence to be down 10-0 right now.
Yeah,
well, you still got that house to go
happening?
back to, though. I mean, it's almost like win or lose. You're still going to be going back to that incredible sort of Phoenix area mansion. Maybe things aren't, maybe he needs a little more motivation.
Hey, Rank, I never thought I'd be saying this, but someone commented, I show up and within 12 seconds, I get a Blink-182 reference.
What's up?
Who would have thought? I really thought you were going to be causing us, people to click off from that one, but it worked.
For a lot of people, they had their finger was on the button to being like, I'm going to bounce. But, I brought him in with a Travis Barker reference. Actually, I got a Travis Barker Funko over on my wall as well. Right. So,
dude, you were so cool. Like, you fit every Twitch vibe ever.
I don't. I'm like the worst. I'm like
playing
Steve, I'm the Steve Buscemi meme. Hello, fellow young people.
Definitely. Larry Fitzgerald, you guys. 653 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Is this his last year? Would he stay with Arizona? Like, any predictions going on there?
Depending on how the season ends, I think we'll have a lot to determine. I firmly believe that Larry Fitzgerald is one of the 5 best wide receivers who have ever played the game. I know a lot of people look at the length of his career and that he was just padding his stats at the end of a glorious run. But if you look at it from 2015 through 2017, he was still putting up 100 receptions a season. And so he was still a very productive player. It wasn't until the offense took a little bit of a dip with Josh Rosen at quarterback and some of the other Brian St. Pierre's that they were bringing in that it really slowed down a little bit. But now under Cliff Kingsbury with Kyler Murray, one season obviously is going to be a lock. If they're headed in the right direction and this team is close to a Super Bowl, I think that he would come back.
Why leave now? I mean, he has been one of the more loyal foot soldiers of any team around, and he's played with a laundry list of hideous quarterbacks. Now you've got Kyler Murray. Now you have DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, why would you leave at this point? I think if they get close or they sniff the playoffs, of course you'd come back.
Definitely. So like we promised, it's the third quarter. We're going to do a little bit more question and answer, sort of like an Ask Me Anything. What a great run. That's awesome.
Look at you, AMA.
Right? So let's see. Any questions you guys have, throw them down in the chat and we will try.
Spicy. I mean, we can talk Baker and Kyler all we want, but Ask Me Anything. The key word there is anything.
Okay, got a question for you all. Why did Dallas pick up Andy Dalton? And do y'all think Dez Bryant will ever play in the league again?
I'd go no on Dez Bryant, and why not on Andy Dalton? What's happened to the Cowboys, stretching back even to the Tony Romo days? When the starter went down, the team totally fell apart into shambles. They needed to upgrade the backup position, and I thought it was just a smart move, picking up what now looks like the best backup quarterback in football.
Definitely.
And I know the kids won't remember this, but the Cowboys used to win Super Bowls back in the 90s.
Who?
The Cowboys used to win Super Bowls in the 90s, like before you were born, Erica, Ricky. The Cowboys were a perennial Super Bowl team, and one of the reasons why is that they always had a solid backup. For years, it was Steve Berline. Then they had Bernie Kosar for a year, and then it was Rodney Peete. So if anything ever happened to Troy Aikman, they had a quarterback available to them. And I think that was what Jerry is going back to, that formula of having that solid backup. And even if, the contract situation with Dak Prescott, if that doesn't work out, well, there's a lot of Cowboy fans right now who are saying, why don't they just go with Andy Dalton, get rid of Dak Prescott, which would be ludicrous. But that's the thinking
insane.
that they're going.
But that is an outrageous perspective. I think they have nothing to do with each other in the sense of their team building. I mean, the idea that you'd have to go from Dak Prescott to Andy Dalton, it would not please Cowboys fans when in real life that started to materialize.
Okay. The MVP asked Mark, thoughts on this parallel universe discovery?
As in Madden here or in real life?
Real life.
Well, I think that we need a parallel universe. I wasn't aware of this actual.
Did you hear that?
Oh my God, did you not hear that?
Underneath Antarctica, I believe. Is that what she's pointing to?
They found a new parallel universe where time goes backwards or something.
Don't get me started on Antarctica. I mean, there is some crazy stuff happening deep below the snow there, and I'm not kidding at all. Connor Orr and I once did a little project, a little podcast about that, and we heard about it from some high-placed government sources to shut up.
Wow, Kyler Murray was just sacked by Bruce Irvin on a big 3rd and 7 play. My prediction is really biting me in the arse, as they like to say. Someone asked me, Ricky, what's your favorite wine? My answer is all of them.
Confirmed.
Which of the ATN heroes would be the most fun in college, Mark?
Oh, I mean, I'd have to go. Well, this is tough, but I think that Dan and Wes, you'd be getting peak Dan and Wes. But, the more I hear about what Greg got up to down there at Tulane, I would want to see that, because Greg doesn't often go down that road these days. And so it would be, must watch, 4 years of must watch television, if that's how quickly he got out of there. I don't know. Maybe there was a 5th year involved.
This is a good one, Rank.
Him and Jeselnik hanging out in New Orleans, going to the French Quarter.
Look at the setting. I mean, New Orleans should take you over the top right there. So
Exactly. Actually, someone asked any update on JRVP, and the answer is nothing I can share with you. Also, Rank, if you could have one title belt in all of wrestling, which would it be, and why is it the NWA TV title with the red strap?
No. It's got to be the white strapped Intercontinental title that Cody brought back a couple of years ago, and obviously now he's with AEW. When you think of classic wrestling, Hulk Hogan was the guy who carried the WWE belt, or WWF at the time. He carried that belt, and it was fine. But the real professional wrestler, like the guy who is actually the best at his craft, be it Kurt Hennig, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, or the Macho Man Randy Savage, they all carried the Intercontinental belt. So that's the one that I would want. I would want to have a honky tonk man type run where I held on to it for 18 months, even if that meant the Ultimate Warrior was going to come out and obliterate me. And it's funny that I know you guys are laughing that I have a more nuanced take about a stupid wrestling belt than I have about any of the football observations I've made today. But listen, I'm cool with that.
Definitely.
I think you're leaving Tito Santana out of that.
Tito Santana. Right, absolutely. My mistake. Not intentional at all. There were so many great ones. And that was before when now they switch all the round. I don't even know. I don't watch that much WWE anymore.
Yeah, I checked out of that in roughly 8th grade, which I'm not allowed to say. Apparently, I find it odd that adults are watching wrestling, but I've never said anything that got me more flack than that. And so I understand that a lot of adult hobbies, they don't all have clear explanations.
Well, it's funny because people say that, and I'm like, I don't watch a lot of WWE, and they're like, I thought you still watch wrestling. I'm like, oh yeah, I do. I watch AEW, New Japan. I will watch Ring of Honor, and people are like, oh my God, it's even the dorkier stuff. Yeah,
that's so
Frank, I used to get these. I'd go to summer camp, and you can coerce your mom to send you magazines and various trinkets, and she would send me these old school black and white wrestling magazines depicting conferences in the deep South where, the chairs are coming out, the faces are bleeding, kind of like the Cardinals are dealing with right here.
Well, the Cardinals just forced a 3-and-out from Seattle, but were you guys talking that whole time? I totally zoned out and wasn't listening. I don't know.
We lost.
Well, let me tell you about some of the PWG shows I go to.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay, you guys, how many wins do we think the Hawks will have this coming season?
They're a double-digit win team for me. I don't believe that they're taking a step back. I know last year when I was doing my infamous record predictions, I had there it is. Oh, that's going to be
just
very bleak.
There you go.
I know what I'm talking about.
Right now, you would throw down the controller, give out the GGs, and move on to next week.
Definitely.
You ever get to a point in these games, when you're playing on your own where it's, let's say you're the Cardinals, there's not a lot of hope to get out of this. You softly tap that power button or the reset button just to.
That's what I'm saying. You put the controller down. You say GG. That means good game.
Yep. Out.
So boom, you're out. You would just concede basically.
Nice. Let's see what other questions we have.
Gotta learn the rank lingo here.
Which wide receiver is bound to have a breakout season?
Deontay Johnson. I love everything that's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that Colin Cowherd on his radio show this week said that they were a 7-9 team, that they're not a good organization anymore. And you're like, they have not had a losing season since Mike Tomlin took over. That's been 13 years. And they went 8-8 last year with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges as their quarterback. And now if Ben Roethlisberger can return and have even replacement level play at the quarterback position, the Steelers should win double-digit games. And if they stay healthy with that defense, I wouldn't be surprised if they're the number 1 seed in the AFC this year.
Yeah, I always felt like Tomlin was coach of the year material. I mean, they tailed off in those final 2 or 3 weeks. I think they scored 30 points over the last 2 weeks. And they finished 8-8. They should have been the playoff team. I would have loved to have seen that team scrapping into the – and I think, Big Ben will be fine. And the percentage of catchable passes, especially aimed at Juju, when Big Ben went out of the lineup, dropped by 10+ percentage points. So I just see I love Deontay Johnson as a pick. How about in New York? I think Denzel Mims is going to be – he's a big we love him on our show. Definitely. And there's not a lot else around him. And I think he could have a big rookie season for Sam Darnold.
Are you disrespecting Jamison Crowder and that receiving or Brashad Perryman?
Not intentionally. I'm more lifting up Denzel Mims. I'm not really going after Crowder necessarily with that one.
What about CeeDee Lamb?
They weirdly have a good receiving core, but obviously Mims being the best one. CeeDee Lamb, man, you're going to a team that had 2 receivers who had 1,000 yards last year, and it's hard to figure out where his role is going to come from.
Go, baby!
Close line. Look at this.
He slid. He is a mobile quarterback. Say what you want about him, but he knows how to move.
Business decision for sure. But the one thing to note about CeeDee Lamb is with Randall Cobb and Jason Witten gone, that means there's 166 available targets there. I don't know how many Blake Jarwin is going to take, but I think CeeDee Lamb will get his share. He'll be a good football player. Fantasy-wise, I don't know if they were asking about that fantasy-wise, but I fantasy-wise, you probably won't be able to trust him, but I think he's an excellent player.
Feels like a disruptive scenario for Michael Gallup, who, was set up to have another big season.
That too, yeah.
Definitely. This is an exciting game. Do you guys think Lamar will be able to match his performance from last year? I'm trying to take time away from noticing that my wager at the beginning is so far off.
Yeah, no, you're way off. You're getting shut out.
I don't know. There's still 2 minutes left.
What was the punishment if you were to lose? I forgot what.
I think you were supposed to shave your head if I lost.
No, I wouldn't have signed off on a deal like that.
Oh, there's a touchdown.
See, look at that 2-minute drill. Right, we're getting there.
Did we hand out GGs a little too early? Perhaps.
Definitely not. Perhaps. I was just trying to help and be like, oh, you guys are just ganging up with the Seahawks. I'm going to back the Cardinals.
I got you.
Cliff Kingsbury, year 2, coming back strong.
It's good for the show. But you were asking for you.
Yeah. But you were asking about Lamar Jackson. I feel that his impact last year is now starting to have reverberations, even in the Madden community, because my guy Joke won the Madden Bowl with a punter at quarterback, and he ran the whole time. And everybody, a lot of people were upset about this, and they're like, "Oh, this is clowning the game or whatever."
Kind of, right? Or no?
The Ravens almost actually did that in real life, and so that's not that big a thing. And it also takes away from the fact that Joke is one of the best defensive players. He was shutting everybody out. The reason you're able to do that is that you're able to shut everybody out. And with the Ravens, they brought in Calais Campbell this year. That defense could be better. They might be, running the ball a little bit more. And I'm sure that unlike Joke, they will actually throw the football. I think it's going to be a pretty big year for Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Joke pulled that from he obviously is a stellar player, but I can think of our friend Connor Orr, former NFL.com writer now with SI, who would concoct these Madden teams where a left guard was playing quarterback and completing 50% of his passes. But you might annoy everyone with that strategy, but he ran away with the whole thing. The rest of the league has to adapt to what Joke is doing.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it'll frustrate people so bad because everybody's impatient, especially in Madden, just like they are in life. And they want to throw the football and they want to show everybody how fancy they are. But if you can run the ball efficiently, it's hard to stop it. And I think the Patriots showed that a couple of years ago when they went up against Sean McVay in the Super Bowl and they won a Super Bowl. What was the final score? Like 13-3 or some nonsense like that. It's, it is a frustrating but effective form of playing.
I like that look on Pete Carroll's face there a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
like he sort of was sucking on a lemon there, a little annoyed with what was going on.
Yeah, that was Hopkins' 5th touchdown of this 2020 simulated season. So that's exciting.
That is exciting. I'm sure anybody who took him in the first round of their fantasy draft is a little upset that's not a bigger number. But if they're watching this game, getting close to the fantasy playoffs, they're like, okay, I'll take that touchdown in garbage time. That still counts.
Definitely. So who do you guys think, now that we're sort of at the midway point of the season, who's going to be playing through the playoffs or maybe even Super Bowl contenders?
Well, I'd start with the Bucs. I mean, it's kind of nice once in a while when you spend months talking about a team when they deliver, because you've got your Eagles dream teams where, just a raging house fire, total disaster. The Browns a year ago, the Niners a couple years ago before they got good. The Bucs have been dominant from wire to wire, and Tom Brady is having this sort of magical Indian summer scenario here where he is looking so much better than he did in his final year with New England. Sorry about that, Erica.
Yeah, it hurts. You got to hit me where it hurts.
But isn't that part of being in the Florida sunshine, though? Like, Florida is a night, like, the weather-wise, it's nicer than, New England. And in a game in December, when it's 68 degrees, am I doing that right? I usually do Celsius. A game is like 17 degrees as opposed to 17 degrees Fahrenheit. It just seems like it's going to work out a lot better.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm just wishing for a lot. Maybe Isaiah Simmons comes out right now, does a nice little strip sack. They score and then, get the ball. I'm not sure how it works with math. That's not my strong suit, but I know that
you're 2 scores down. Yes.
This game is winnable.
It certainly is, but you need something to happen right now.
We need something big. And by we, I mean the Cardinals, because I've taken them on as my team. And look at that. They stopped them.
Yeah, but I mean, look where Seattle is right here.
I know. I'm trying to be an optimist. I'm trying to be
I have to shave my hair in 2 minutes if this doesn't go your way.
The Cardinals lose on my behalf. Exactly.
Is that how that went?
No, that's how Erica thinks this deal was put together, and it couldn't be further from accurate.
I remember that being different.
Nice. Do you guys like Christian Kirk? Do you think we're like in a fantasy perspective?
Yeah, you look at his numbers this year. He came in. It really, if you want to look at Kenyon Drake, even 4th in receiving, and I think he's a great player.
There's Russell Wilson.
Game over. Eric, I believe the actual agreement was that you were going to take a razor and just erase like about a 4-inch line of hair off your head.
I already did that. Why do you think I'm wearing a beanie?
I feel that sounds familiar to me.
I did say that, but I said we would have to maybe wait for the playoffs or something, or just build this up. But I wouldn't put it past me to do something crazy like that.
No,
we need to see it.
Definitely.
If Ricky could get 1 million followers here on Twitch, she will shave her head.
Where are you at?
1 million? That's a lot. I'm at like 45. If I got 40. I'm at 45, like singular.
45,000.
No, like
the show.
45.
Rank had 1. Rank before the show had 1, and that means that even
there's
between
3
Eric
people
and
on the show.
That means one of us, and I will not say, decided not to follow you back.
One person, follow me at AdamRank299 here on Twitch.
Okay.
You know what? I want to start. I don't want to give away what I want to start streaming, but I got to figure this out. Like this is fun. I enjoy watching this.
I do too. I really
like a lot you can do on Twitch, Adam. So there's a wide berth for you. When we don't know what you'll be streaming either.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
No, it's amazing. I know Mark was talking about insomnia and like being up late, like watching Twitch streams of people cooking and stuff like that. It is fascinating.
I do. I watch a lot. Yeah, especially you kind of find one or two that are. There was one couple that used to travel around like Thailand on boats and stuff and eat crazy food. Watch that at like 2:30 in the morning.
Nice. All right, we're under the 2 minutes left, you guys. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, you got a ways to go here. This is going to be take
because you're getting up to leave the stadium and drive home. I mean, this is not contention.
Yeah, this is good. This is good for me and my
Yeah.
knowledge. And I really, went out on a limb here to be let down.
You did.
I was just let down.
A little bit, yeah. This is a little bit of a revenge game for last season. And I think too, though, if you're from a fantasy perspective, this is playing out perfectly because this is like, okay, Kyler's going to go out and throw. If you started Larry Fitzgerald or if you started DeAndre Hopkins or Kenyon Drake or anybody like that, they're going to go out there and get you these garbage time points, which still count from, you don't get less points for it. You get the exact same. So it's perfect.
Okay, here's a question for you. Yeah.
Marginalize garbage time a little bit. Is that a crazy theory? I'm sure there's a lot of fantasy heads out there that probably think that's absurd, but
no, that there is, because usually whatever side of the coin you're on, if you're on the receiving end of it, then you're definitely like, we've got to figure out a way to make this different. Like, for instance, I lost last year in the semifinals to the fantasy footballers, who are huge Arizona fans, by the way. And they had Jameis Winston. Now, I had Lamar Jackson, who went out there and had a magnificent game.
Almost over here.
Almost a perfect game from a quarterback. And Jameis Winston's out there throwing 5 touchdowns to go with 5 interceptions. And he had similar fantasy points to Lamar Jackson. I'm like, there has got to be some way to change this, because this is completely asinine that this was even in the same stratosphere. And I'm still upset about it to this day. I don't know if I would have beaten Candace Patton in the finals. I mean, I would have, but it is still distressing to me.
Definitely. If you had to have one of these coaches and forget the score, Cliff Kingsbury or Pete Carroll for the next 5 years, right now.
So Pete's 68 years old?
Yeah, it's getting up there.
Yeah, but he's a spry 68.
He is a young 68.
I honestly I would say that Pete Carroll is easily one of the 5 best coaches in the NFL, perhaps 4. There's few guys I would take over him. I think that he's done it in a multitude of ways. He won multiple national championships on the field at USC. He got back. He went to back-to-back Super Bowls, winning 1. And outside of an amazing play by Malcolm Butler, for whatever reason, I watched it again the other night. And the play that Malcolm Butler makes is really impressive. So Pete Carroll was on the cusp of knocking off Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in successive years with the Seahawks team. So for me, he's going to be, I still consider him one of the best coaches. I would go with him.
Yeah, you know what you're getting with Pete Carroll. And I think that the potential for Cliff Kingsbury is pretty fascinating. And, I would love to be able to, if I were to vote for him right here, be invited occasionally over to the house and just, sit out on the deck, have a nice glass of white wine with him or something. But I'm going Pete Carroll because he has a nice seaside cottage, I believe, as well, not too far from us here in Los Angeles.
Definitely. So the game is over, you guys. What an upsetting loss for me. I really thought I was going to pull the upset here.
To be like, when this happens, Erica, is it like we get off the stream? Does it impact you emotionally? Like, are you truly upset? Okay.
I'm going to be calling people, EA specifically, being like, how could you let that happen? I was on air. Like, I have a lot of qualms that I need to fix because, frankly, I look unprofessional. I should
look like a fool.
Yeah,
exactly.
Puts that on you,
Exactly. So Cardinals had 2 turnovers. That hurt me, right? Yes. The Seahawks, they look great. They moved to 6-4, and the Cardinals stay at 5-5. Make sure you guys keep streaming all of these shows. They'll be here on the NFL's Twitch. You can also go to our personal Twitches to follow along, and Twitter around the NFL. The podcast is 2 times a week. We're on the network tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern.
What?
Yes, we are on TV. And Rank, where can they find you?
They can't anymore.
I thought we saw Adam Rank on network today. Is that not accurate?
Yeah, you're a TV star.
Maybe. They probably would have thrown up one of my, fantasy hits or whatever, or something like that, which I appreciate them doing that. But of course, you can still find me on Twitter at Adam Rank, on Instagram at Adam Rank NFL, because there's somebody squatting on my name on Instagram.
Same.
Or if you want to follow me on Twitch and double my followers from 1 to 2, That would be amazing. At some point, I'm going to figure this out, fellow young kids, and get that going. But yeah, otherwise, I'm still putting out content like little graphics, talking about stuff,
Cool.
making
Graphics.
fun of myself. Yeah, whatever.
Adam,
That's what the kids do.
What's your home address in case people wanted to stop by and, just take some of your time?
Oh, yeah. It's 1799 5th Street, Sunset Beach, California. And yeah.
Great. Good to know.
I'm on the top floor, though. So make sure you got
to get buzzed in.
Don't disturb the downstairs neighbor.
Nice.
They don't care for that.
Well, I'm going to get out of here with you guys because it looks like maybe my candle is about to catch fire on one of my easels. As much as that'd be a great Twitch moment, we might as well sign off. You guys, this was so much fun. Thanks for hanging out. We hope to do it again soon. And make sure you're subscribing to the NFL's Twitch handle.
Bye-bye. Get us out of here.
How long is this going to keep going?
Get us off.
Yeah,